Everybody. I wanted to come on here and do a walkthrough of the Healing Heart Oracle, Love Letters to Your Soul. This deck is by, I think it might be Ina, but it could be Ina Segal, illustrated by Jenna Della Grataglia. I know I feel like I slaughter her name all the time. This deck has been very interesting for me because I love the color palettes. That's, I guess, the best way I can put it. I love some of Jenna's deck. I love when she hits these really earthy color palettes like the Mystical Shaman, um, like I think even her Shaman's Dream. I am trying to see them across. I have quite a few of her decks that she has done with, I believe, Colette Baron Reed, and she has worked a lot with Colette Baron Reed. So, but especially if you think about the Mystical Shaman and the Animal deck that they did together. While I didn't love the crowns and things, I did love the color palette, and it is a deck that I use a lot. So I did see that she had this one come out, and I feel like I might have peeked at it if I saw that, it was a lot of beautiful. Again, I love her color tones and I love her color palettes, but it seemed to be like mostly female figures, and it just, it wasn't my typical thing that I would use, so I hadn't really looked closely at it. I had just seen that it had come out. But then Rockpool sends me decks now and again, which is very kind and gracious of them, to see if there are ones that I want to do for review. And this just randomly showed up in my post office box. And I thought, okay, well, let's take a look at this. And I have to say, and this always happens, right? Because what can we do, right? There are so many decks that are out there in the world, and we only have, so much time to work with them, so much space, so much money, resources to put with them. And so we do the best we can. We look at things and we kind of try to say, okay, well, I don't think that's something that I would necessarily use. But then sometimes you get somebody sends it to you, or you just kind of take a risk. I've done that on certain decks that were not kinds of decks I would normally get. And I thought, I just felt like, oh, I'm just going to try it. And so I've tried it, and they've ended up being really big decks for me. This is, I don't believe I would have purchased this. I'm going to be completely honest, not because nothing wrong with anything with the creators, but it just, didn't fill a particular place that I would have felt that I needed for it. But this one has definitely taken my heart. I'm still working with it. I have normally, right, I'm doing a first impression. This one I have pulled for myself, and I have found it to be really poignant. And I don't know, some of it's obviously timing. I want to say that this came in around the same time I was really doing a lot of the writing for and the aftercare of writing Nellie's Guidebook, which was a very vulnerable, emotional time for me, the writing of that. And it just left me feeling kind of like wide open. And so I actually found this to be incredibly, I've been using it in Ancestor Space. As like a supported love letters and messages from my ancestors or from the universe, just pure support. Sometimes I always say in my classes that there's two parts before we pull a card. The first part is, what is your intention? What is it that you need to get out of this reading? Because if you need support, then pick a deck that's going to support you, or interpret whatever deck that you use in a supportive voice. We need to pick our intention. What are we trying to get out of this reading? And then ask our question and pull our deck and create our sandbox, right? Decide what spread we're going to use, what deck we're going to use. But it starts with that intention. What are we looking for? And so this, was where an intention of healing the heart or just supporting the heart space. And I have just found this to be, again, right time, right place. I have found this to be incredibly nurturing. So, again, normally I'm doing kind of first impressions, and I always touch back on all of the decks at the end of the year. This one I have pulled for myself multiple times. I haven't used it for anybody else, but just for myself. And so I wanted to share it with you. So this is called Healing the Heart Oracle, Love Letters to Your Soul. I already said that. The back says, recognize the beautiful, creative, fun, joyful aspects of your heart and give them wings to shine. Ina Segal, best-selling author of Secret Language of Your Body, Heal Yourself reading cards. Oh, she did the mystical healing reading cards. Those was another deck. That was another deck. Oh, I'm gonna have to watch. I'm sure I feel like I'm slaughtering her name, but I am going to have to watch her because her mystical healing cards, let me find again, mystical healing reading cards, that was a kind of, whoa, that had a lot more oomph to it than I was expecting as well. I don't think I know the Heal Yourself reading cards, but that was also well, I was kind of like, oh, that's interesting. Actually, I think my friend Patrick picked that up, and then I picked it up, and I was like, okay, that's got some extra oomph beneath there. Anyway, sorry. Has created this healing oracle to help you face the pain and trauma you carry in your heart from past hurts. So the whole point of this is to kind of soothe the hurt soul. We have all experienced hurt, rejection, confusion, loss, and fear in our hearts, and these cards will enable you to reconnect with your heart on all levels. They offer you a glimpse into where your heart is in your life's journey, and what you can do to create more aliveness, wholeness, and love, especially after any difficult or painful experiences. The artwork on each card is beautifully illustrated by Jenna Della Taglia, the best-selling artist behind the Goddess Power Oracle and the Spirit Animal Oracle and the Mystical Shaman Oracle and others. Richly symbolic, the images call on the divine to help the human heart to heal. So I did not read this back before I had been using it, but even though every message is there to support and uplift and heal, it all comes from an understanding that there is an underlying hurt or ache or something there to heal from. It has, if you have the Into the Lonely Woods, it's a similar feel to that, where it's supportive and it's such a wonderful space to be in, but it's got the underlying understanding that we all have broken parts and hurt pieces and fractured bits and things. We all need some band-aids. So it kind of has that same similar energy as that. That's probably the best deck I could compare it to. Okay, this is again a Rockpool Publishing deck. Send healing love letters to your heart and build your inner strength. So then we have our guidebook, and we have the cards that have a gold gilding on them. They're beautiful matte. Rockpool often, I like Rockpool decks cardstock. Even their really glossy cardstock, it is held up for me really well over the years. But this is beautiful and matte. I really like this. I don't know over time, but I certainly haven't had any issue with Rockpool's cardstock. So that's the back. And then the front has an image on the front of it, and then it has a number, and it has the title, A Hurt Heart, and then it has sort of that message from the universe. Again, for me, this has been pulled in Ancestor Guardian space, so these have all felt very much like messages from my bear guardian, messages from a very particular ancestor that I work with, but very supportive message, and it has been very, very touching. Even that first one makes me feel all choked up. I see you. The images are beautiful. I won't say that the images necessarily have, but just these phrases, like that alone for me, just the I see you, or whatever the phrase, we're obviously going to go through them, but whatever the phrase is, just kind of hits me right what I needed to hear at that time. But let's turn that over and take a look at the guidebook. Um, so you have, I mean, beautiful. They've made wonderful use of the artwork. You have obviously all of the cards are lined up with their title and their phrase. An introduction here, how to use the cards, a 1 card reading, a 2 card reading. I do like that she even says focus on your intention, because that's so important. She also has a 3 card reading, 4 card reading, and a choice reading. This is also really beautiful because you have the emotional challenge, the lesson, and then the possible outcome. So she does definitely gives you a few examples of readings that you could do. I have only pulled single cards with this. I don't think I probably would pull more than one, but I do that also with the Lonely Woods. It's just that one little message that I just need. Look, this is absolutely stunning. Again, she does like a digital style. I guess I would say a digital art. I don't know. I would say she's a digital artist. Jenna has been creating Oracle and Tarot decks for several years and with some of the most well-known authors and publisher. Through digital mediums, Jenna has designed over a dozen decks and been featured on Oprah Daily and many other design outlets. Her artwork has been featured on creative furniture pieces as well as greeting cards and more. This deck is her first as both an author and artist. Oh, that's interesting. And she's excited to create more. Okay, so that's interesting because it says by, okay, so let's take a look. Ina Segal is award-winning bestseller author. She's also created a variety of helpful healing audios, recognized healer, talks about her difficulty with pain and things of that nature, teaches her students how to understand the symbolic ways of their bodies and soul communications. Her books are all this. Da, 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 da. So yeah, I'm not sure. Let me see if it says anything in the introduction. It says it's the first time she's been able to do some writing. I wonder if that was for something else. I don't know. I don't know about that, but anyways, there we go. There's that. So then we come to the, and we'll do this first card here and read it so you can see what, oops, wrong card. We will read it so that you can, okay, oh, that is one. I saw that little piece and I thought I'd grab 2 cards again. All right, let's try this again. There we go. So you have a beautiful colored representation of the card if you're going to sit down and read through this and don't want to keep your deck in order. Hurt Heart, I see you. And then you have this letter. Dear Hurt Heart, I know you carry lots of sadness inside you that it's very easy for you to take things personally and try to self-protect. You feel so scared, little and vulnerable inside that you have needed an armor of spikes to protect you. At times, people see you as cold and calculating, but in fact, you are so tender and sensitive that if the armor was taken off, you could simply bleed out. I know this is not necessarily how you started, but all the rejection, humiliation, neglect, and cruelty have deeply wounded you. I see you. I feel your pain is deep. I know there are many cuts and scars over your heart, and that you've been hurt and you have hurt, but it is a vicious cycle. Now is an opportunity to look back on the hurt heart story. It's time to cry the tears that have been frozen and start to bring more light to the buried pain. I promise to start to nourish you with gentle, soft caresses, love, kindness, and warmth. For heart, then it has a heart healing portion. Imagine taking out this hurt part of your heart and holding it in your hands. Visualize green healing light. Send your heart this green light of healing, strength, and loving kindness. Speak to your hurt heart. Let it know that it can become whole, wise, and expanded. Visualize taking out any symbolic spikes representing the hurt it has suffered and place them into an imaginary purple fire with the intention of letting go of old pain. Then send your heart emerald green energy with the intention of rejuvenating it. Place this energetic heart that has received healing energy back into your heart, and then take some slow deep breaths in and out and allow the now healing energy to assimilate. Keep doing this process daily until your heart feels more whole. So it gives you an idea of how to do this. I will tell you that I haven't used this guidebook at all. I tend to, and this is just me, because I know people love guidebooks and especially these types of guidebooks. I don't tend to love always the language, and this is my own probably heart healing that I need to have, because this is across a lot of different things, that when I'm really in pain or receiving support, I struggle with too much of sort of a cheerleader, or too much of, come in here, like, I know that you have all these scars. I know you have all felt rejection and humiliation and neglect. Like, I don't do really well with that sort of abundance of energy like that. I kind of get a pushback. Again, I'm sure I have some healing to do on that. But I tend to just take my support in that hit of that energy. And and maybe also because I'm usually using this type of deck in ancestor space, I'm also getting other kinds of hits and messages from my ancestors and from other things going on in my space. So I don't tend, I have not used the guidebook at all. And that tends to be the case for these types of decks. There are exceptions, but that's just me. I have just gotten a lot of hits just from pulling it, and just the simplicity of I see you. And then my heart just kind of wells up, and my ancestors or my guardian kind of meets me there, and then we kind of roll from there, right? So that's kind of how I've been using this. So I can't tell you one way or another. Some people, again, love these. I do like that they give you ideas here on how could you approach this, more than just getting a hit, but actually doing something about it and doing that healing work. I think that that is wonderful to have as well. So these heart feelings, I think, are really great. Even if you wouldn't maybe do the exact same thing, it can give you ideas in your practice style how you might go ahead and do some healing work for yourself, and give you ideas that way. So I think that that's really great. And for some people, they're going to absolutely love the full letters. Again, for me, you are enough, like, that kills me. And I did get this card because that's a lifelong thing for me. And so when I when I got that card, like that just put me into a puddle by itself. And again, I'm doing this in ancestor space, so I'm very supported there. So but I did want to read one of those so that you could see. And of course, it goes through the rest of the cards. So it's not super thick by any means. It definitely just gives you that letter, and then it gives you some idea of how to go about healing where that space is. So let's zoom in now so we can take a look at the cards. And again, like, I love her artwork. I think she's really amazing. This deck itself wouldn't have been one I would have picked based off of the artwork. But for me, it's just been this, and the art supports that. This is what's really been the hit for me. It's just such a small thing, right? You could literally have, some little cards that just say, I see you, and it probably hit. I don't know. It's the whole thing together. But it's all beautifully done. I like this. I know some people probably won't like this particular side um, it, bar instead of a bottom bar. I actually really like it. It's something that's different. It doesn't, I'm just pulling one card, but even if I was pulling 2 cards or 3 cards, like, that doesn't bother me at all. I think it's actually quite like it. Okay, so obviously we have number 1, hurt heart, I see you. The worthy heart, you are enough. I do really like this yellow tones. Again, I love her use of color. I do think that she has a beautiful sense of color, that when you end up, just kind of seeing the body of her colors, there's just such a richness to her colors and her usage of color that really speaks to me, just in the color tones. Sorry. But that just really stands out and just kind of hits you that you are enough. Here we have the unseen heart. You are significant. Again, this doesn't, this lends itself to that, right? She's shifted back into the shadows. So it goes with the energy that we're seeing here. You are significant. Here we have rebellious heart. think for yourself, because sometimes there are calls to action. I've definitely got some like this, where there is this kind of call to move, and this does lend to that. I think that you see this motion, right? Think for yourself, do something, push back against the vines. So I actually really like this image with this. I haven't even sat, to be honest, and looked at the images. But my experience has all been with these. So this is kind of still a first impressions in terms of looking at all the images. I love that. Here we have the trusting heart. I do wish, again, you all know the routine. I don't have great eyesight, and even with my glasses, I wish this was bigger. But I do understand that there is different size phrasing, and they obviously have to make sure they can all fit. But I do wish this is perfect, but I wish this was bigger. It's just because of my eyesight issues. But trusting heart, listen to your inner wisdom. This is just gorgeous because it almost feels like something's being birthed, doesn't it, with the little feet? I do think it's beautiful. Knowing heart, heed your intuition. Like, this is gorgeous. That's really beautiful. I love everything about this. The tree line, the water underneath it, but she looks like she's still in the water. That's beautiful. It's like this, it's a call to like listen to yourself. Don't ignore, because sometimes when we're hurt, we're not. And again, it doesn't have to just be hurt. There's a lot of different ways in which we are hurt and not listening to ourselves. And this is saying no, heed it. Listen to your instincts. You know what's going on here. Here we have the curious heart. Embark on a great adventure. I feel like, she doesn't quite look dressed appropriately for a great adventure. I would have liked to have seen somebody maybe literally dressed to go on an adventure. But she does look curious. That she 100% looks curious. It's beautiful. Like, again, for me, sometimes I guess with this deck, with me, as long as the art doesn't get in the way of the message, I'm good with it, because this is my kind of the thing that's really drawn me to this deck. And she does look curious, but I would like to see like Laura Croft, full on Laura Croft there. Here we have the fearful heart. It's time to shine. Again, this is really gorgeous, because especially when you see that against this one, right? Because she's kind of curious. Her face is to the sun, her face is to the light. Whereas you have this completely veiled by her hair. And there is this need, even if it's only hair, right, to try to protect and shield um, um, oneself, that you can really see when you compare those two images out. This is gorgeous. This is the deep heart. Believe in divine destiny. This is very seer like, believe. I'm destiny is a word that for me is a little bit like, for me, the web is always shifting, and there is destiny, and there is eternity in every ripple, right? And that's why I really like this, even though destiny, I don't think of it like maybe some people do, or like fate or anything like that, but is that understanding of weird. And she really looks like, because you always talk about weird as being, if you drop a stone, it's the ripples, and every ripple is a potential eternity. And so the image, I think, is really gorgeous here and works really well with that idea. Or you even think about that, what is that? There's a, um, I've lost it. There's even a biblical reference about sacredness being in every place that you step, or there's just always these ideas of, that this one moment, this one step holds your entire destiny, and it holds your entire fate, and then you take a next step and a next step, and each one, there is the fullness, right, of everything in that one small moment, and that's kind of how that feels. The betrayed heart. Risk opening up to your life and love. This is saying, I really like the image here. This feels like this heart has been through a lot, right? There's a lot of with the blue and the reds and the veins and it kind of feels shattery, and it's been so, there's a lot going on here. And it is going to, if you've been kind of battered a bit, it's really hard to open your heart up. This is what the Six of Cups is about, right? How do we, when the world has taught us that things are very painful, how do we risk opening ourselves to the beauty that's also there? So this is quite beautiful. Here we have the co-creative heart. Look for clear signs, but also that we can, look for signs from others as well. Look for our allies, look for our ancestors and our guardians and our guides and our friends and the people around us to support us and co-create. I actually quite like, again, this imagery, because I think it can be all those things. It can be allies in different forms, whether those are our ancestors on down the line of what I just said, even our past selves, that this is, everything is about co-creation. So I think that's really gorgeous. Here we have the resilient heart. It's time to rebuild. So now this is this is just kind of just, opening yourself up to the fact that there's beauty. And now we're taking that step of where we're actually going to rebuild and make something new, take the pieces and create something new and start new growth, which is really gorgeous. This image is really beautiful. Here we have the grieving heart. Open doors to something new. It's kind of pulling from that heart, and as there is something that's new there. I would, probably with the grieving heart, I almost just would like to sit with that. Like that be a more, it's okay to sit here for a minute, right? To sit in this, and then once we're ready, because there's something new almost feels like, okay, now we have to get over this and go on to something new. And sometimes with the grieving, it's okay to be in that moment and to just stay in that moment. But I think you can get that from just from your own self. Again, that's why with these cards are just the jumping off points. They give us something and we jump with it. But just even in her image, like, I do feel like the image itself says, stay as long as you need to stay and not too long. That's the whole issue, right? Stay as long as you can, but don't overstay. And kind of that spark of new. I love this image, actually. I think it's really beautiful and poignant. But I don't always in grief feel like I have to move on to the something new, that sometimes we can sit there. But this could be a reminder that you sit there a little too long, and that we don't want to stay in that space forever. Here we have the giving heart. Develop self-love. Again, this is just beautiful. I like all of the hands here. I like all of, but then it's giving heart, but you give first to yourself, and then once you give to yourself, then you can give outward, which is really beautiful in the imagery there. Here we have the healing heart. Face your shadow and grow. I, again, love the shadow here. I love the, this one I have pulled. I love the hands here. I even like the shadowed part of the heart itself here. And then there's something like, I saw this as, now I don't know, maybe we can see it better in the view. For me, that was like this little spark of growth. Like, I thought that was like a little leaf. It may be a symbol or something, but I saw that as sort of something growing. In that shadow, something is growing, right? So if we face that, it's only going to kind of grow in larger and bigger. I really like that image, actually. Here we have the passionate heart. Use your voice to wake up others. So now you're using your heart, you're putting it into song or into painting or into writing or into whatever way, or even to just smiling at somebody, or giving somebody, a piece of joy throughout your day, right? But now you can take that and you can use your heart and your passion to spark that for somebody else as well. It's really cool with the painting, and the painting's literally coming to life. Again, I really love these images. They all like really beautiful women, yes, for sure. But the I do think that the images are really evoking at least what the card, they're not just random beautiful images, they really are evoking what we're seeing, the message that we're seeing. So I do love that. And again, I have nothing, it's not that there's anything negative about having a deck full of just beautiful imagery of women in fantastical ways. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not generally the deck that I lean towards, but this is gorgeous. It really is, and at least it speaks to the cards. Here we have the Trapped Heart. Step outside your comfort zone. I've definitely gotten this one. Because I think that when, if we go through it or in a space where we're feeling vulnerable, then the last thing that we want to do is to go out of our comfort zone. We want to kind of retreat into comfort zone. But at some point, you kind of have to keep pushing outside of that. It's okay to retreat. Same thing with me and the Hermit card, right? It's okay and it's healthy actually to step back and retreat and process, but there's always this fine line where the retreat becomes a trap, for me anyways. So I think that's a great reminder. This is beautiful. Adventurous Heart. Set sail on a trip of a lifetime. What was the other one that was adventure? I mean, it was probably a different word. I always like to look at those things. Curious. Nope, that was a curious. It's embarking on a great adventure, but it's more about having the curiosity that takes you out of staying where you're at. So, which I do like. That to me, that is different. She does look like if she's adventurous, at least. Again, I think I like a Laura Croft. But, I don't think many are going to put Laura Croft into in this type of a deck. Here we have the Beautiful Heart. Open your wings and fly. It's beautiful. I like this artwork. You'd think you'd see like a butterfly or something like that, but I think it is gorgeous. It's very gardeny and full bloom. Here we have Don't Give Up on the Don't Give Up on Love Heart. What do you desire? Really just taking a minute to think, like, you've been hurt, you've had loss, or you haven't gained what you think you've wanted. Like, maybe it's time to really pause and think about, what do you really want? What is it that you want? Because sometimes in the longing, especially for a long time in the longing, we can kind of lose sight of what we really, really want. And so that's kind of an interesting one that could come up. Here we have the Flirty Heart. Flirtatious Heart. That would have been way too big. Have fun engaging your alluring nature. This is kind of asking you to open up and play and flirt and be sensual even. And that doesn't always have to do with sex, but it's that sensuality and that flirty, and to be very, very present and physical in the world, which I think this could pop up in that way as well. This is gorgeous. Cautious Heart. Have enough wisdom to get back up. I do really like this with all of like the barnacles and things on here. I think that that's just gorgeous. This kind of reminds me of some of her things from like not the maps one, but the other one that she has, but just kind of taking another step forward. That's really beautiful. You've got some bangs and things that have been healed up, and cracks that have been, filled in with bits and bobs. So but keep getting up, keep going, keep moving forward. Don't be too cautious. Here we have the Patient Heart. Move forward and grow. You know what this made me think of? I don't know if any of you were Buffy the Vampire Watchers, but there is a whole, I don't know what season it is. I feel like it's towards the end of the series. There's a whole line or storyline of the Buffy bot. I fell in love with the Buffy bot. I'm not going to give anything away because maybe you're going to go back and watch it, but I really fell in love with the Buffy bot and really wanted her to just go forward and to grow and to become like just her own self and all of that. And this just reminded because it kind of looks like young Sarah Michelle Gellar, and then just with the gears and the clocks, I don't know. It made me think of the Buffy bot and just that feeling of wanting her to move forward and grow and to become her own self. So there you go. Now you will forever look at that as the Buffy bot. Hungry Heart, awaken the true song of your heart. So there we have another more sensual image. Um, Again, I don't feel like these need to be, this very has a very fey energy to it too. I don't think that these need to have to be about sex to have sensual images. Um, but what is it that awakens desire and awakens passion and makes you hungry for life, for creativity, for whatever is going to be there? So what's that? Oh my. Haven't seen this one. The remorseful heart. So she has chopped somebody's head off. Well, it looks like that's a statue. So she has smashed something. There's many a story of women who have chopped off some people's heads, aren't there? Forgive and move ahead. She's obviously been hurt. She has had a reaction to that hurt. And now she just needs to let go and keep moving forward. This is absolutely gorgeous. This is the kind of artwork that I just love from her. How beautiful is that? Recovering heart, step onto the road to deeper healing. This definitely has a feeling, like you get the feeling of healing with the dove here, but there is such a depth and a power to this that this does feel like next level healing. Quite beautiful. This is stunning as well. This is the hopeful heart. An exciting surprise is coming your way. Absolutely gorgeous. She, I just do feel like, especially if you look at some of her older decks, she's always done like digital collage. I'm sure it's like a mix of collage, digital painting, probably collaging some of her own works together. I have no clue. Don't take that as, but I just feel like she's just gotten better and better at her craft, and that is so stunning. An exciting surprise is coming your way. Just a hopeful heart. I could sit with that for a really long time, but me and the word hope have a history together. Here we have the daring heart. Learn to lead from wisdom. I do love that. I love the leading from wisdom, and that is a dare, right? To lead is a dare, to not just follow, but to be strong enough to lead, but then not just lead, but to lead from wisdom. And then she definitely looks very strong and powerful. So that's a good call to action. Here we have the prospering heart. Look for beauty, abundance, and generosity. I like the gold here, even the bag that seems to be opening up. I don't know if that's a bag, but it kind of has that feeling of like a money bag that's opening up, and just releasing prosperity. Here we have the reinventing heart. Get to know yourself anew. So you've got, I like the dark, and then she's just bringing color back into and starting to remember who she is. Oh, she's very powerful looking. Intuitive heart, step into your true destiny. I really love the chin up here. You've got the heart, and this is very swordsy feel, right? For me, the answer to the Two of Swords is to bring your head and your heart together, and that's exactly what this looks like. And that back straight, jaw straight, chin up has a very Queen of Spades, very Two of Swords feel to this. I know it says intuitive heart, but that's definitely, oops, Step into your true destiny. That's, to me, I would really be getting those kind of hits. Like this is step into that power of the Queen of Spades. Here we have the longing heart, value what you have and more will appear. I do really like the term longing in these types of decks because I do think there's a lot of longing that's encapsulated in this type of support deck that I think it can hit quite powerfully. And she looks like she's longing. This looks to me like the her thoughts card in Kipper, you know, what she's really longing for and having a hard time waiting for. This is beautiful. Again, I really like this style of hers when she goes into this color space. Um, the unavailable heart. Face painful experiences and heal. I like the ice here. It's water, but it's definitely Isa energy. Things are frozen and then the heat got a very Nordic, you know, the fire and ice. The fire's going to come in and melt that space and allow for there to be healing from that. This is actually really gorgeous. Here we have divinely connected heart. Meet your karma. Karma is an interesting word. It depends on how you define it. But I do believe that, you know, there are things that follow, but it's kind of like weird. For me, when I think of karma, I think of how I think of weird, and to just kind of step forward and meet that fate and then meet the next one and the next one. But that one. I love this image. I mean, obviously it's a hard, not a happy image, but I love the look of it. It looks like you're, again, obviously it looks like you're watching like a dance. Like these two people are obviously, you know, doing like an interpretive dance with all the other elements, but it's just gorgeous. The rejected heart, transform heartbreak into inner strength. That's just beautiful. I do really love that. Really gorgeous. And then here we have the forgiving heart. This definitely makes me think of vampires. I mean, come on, how can we not think about vampires? Forgiving heart, don't let the past imprison you in the present. I do like the veil. It has almost kind of a devil feel to it, right? Like, and again, probably because I just can't help but think about a vampire in this. But so it does, but that whole veil over it, and then, you know, the hands to the heart. Now this is this person's hands, but it almost feels like it's her hands also because she's really leaning in. So it's that, you know, the imprisonment, but you're actually holding on to, and in some way, and desiring that imprisonment as well. So that is, you know, at what point do we even know? Like it's something that we wanted so much, but at what point do we then just choose to release that and let that go, so that we can move forward? It's very interesting. Of the combination of the picture and the phrasing, I think you could run in a lot of directions with that as well. So I actually think that like the, what I would say would be like sensual cards that are on here are quite intriguing for their topic. And I think that you could run with those as well. So, I mean, I definitely think that this one kind of sticks out and feels very different from the rest because it feels almost too mundane, if that makes, I mean, oh, she's got a pretty little outfit and the choker and stuff, but it almost feels less, not enough fantastical compared to the rest of them. But again, the color palette I think is stunning. And so yeah, but for me, again, my only experience with the deck, just in terms of using the deck, has really been, those words have really hit. I think the art does clearly seem to go with, you can find where it's going with it. Shuffles really beautifully. Although I really hardly even shuffled it too much. It's been more of a drop and go. It's just one of those things that it's the right time and the right moment. I've only pulled one card. You know, how do you find the ability? This is for me, this one is really about forgiving yourself. because you have the word remorseful heart. I think this really is about how do we forgive, and that comes up in a lot of different ways. It doesn't necessarily just mean that we've done bad things or whatever, but there are things that we have remorse over. There are things that we have to accept and acknowledge, but then also find a way to forgiveness so that you can move forward. I just find these to be very poignant. Again, for me, they're sitting in supportive space. They're sitting in that space of pulling one card to just really sit with, and then maybe pulling hugs or other things that I might be doing in, again, for me it's usually an ancestor space, but I've really just been pulling one, and I have found it to be, again, similar energy, maybe more encouraging and more inspiring, or not inspiring, empowering, maybe a little more empowering, whereas Into the Lonely Woods is more just kind of, let's just sit here for a moment. Let's just sit here together for a moment, which I love. And this has that feel too, but there's also this empowering to do something about it. So that makes it different. That makes me want to pull this separately from when I might pull from Into the Lonely Heart, only because, again, visually they aren't the same at all, but they just have the same supportive feel that acknowledges that there is a lot of pain and a lot of hurt and a lot of grieving behind things that we can't ignore. We have to find a way to work with them. And so I appreciate both of the energies because of that. But whereas the Into the Lonely Woods, we're just going to sit there for a while. And this one does tend to encourage you to then do something about it. So when you need that encouragement not to stay in that space, this might be good for that. So this has been a look at the Healing Heart Oracle, Love Letters to Your Soul. The second time this creator has kind of surprised me. Wouldn't have been something I would have picked up, and then it's like, oh dang, like I would have really missed out on that. So quite beautiful. And thank you for taking a look at it with me.